There are two premium noise cancelling in-earbuds out there with optical heart rate sensors on board, and today I'm going to compare them to see which one is the true king of sports earbuds. Hi, my name is Andy and you're watching Andy's Tech Tone. Thanks for tuning in. So, the two contenders I'm putting up against each other are the Beats Powerbeats Pro 2 and the Sennheiser Momentum Sport. At first sight, they might not look that much similar to one another due to their design differences, but as for their intended use, these two are a pretty close match as both are marketed as premium sports earbuds, and as such they come with matching features such as a secure fit, a robust build quality, active noise cancelling and heart rate monitoring, just to name a few. Now, starting with their design, both earbuds are built to last and both can provide you with a secure fit during exercise. The difference lies in how each can achieve said secure fit. The Beats have ear hooks which are much more reassuring at high speeds on a bike, for example, or when doing things upside down, such as a simple downward dog pose in yoga. But those ear hooks are a one-size-fits-all solution and they also contribute to the overall weight of the buds, which makes them 2 grams heavier than the Sennheisers. The Momentum Sport, on the other hand, comes with 4 different sets of ear fins and 3 sets of silicone tips, and that gives you a good number of combinations for dialing in the fit to your ears. Of course, the Powerbeats Pro 2 comes with 5 sets of tips as well, but I personally found that I'm between the medium and the large, so neither fit my ear canals perfectly. Tough luck on my side, I know, and your mileage might vary, of course. But even with that minor caveat, I have to give the fit round to the Beats, thanks to its hooks. It doesn't mean that the Momentum Sport is not snug enough or secure for all types of exercise, because they are, but I'm overly paranoid about losing my earbuds while out on my bike on those sometimes bumpy Irish country roads, so in my opinion, nothing can beat an ear hook in that scenario. But that peace of mind with the Beats on 2 wheels does not carry over to longevity, or ingress protection to be more specific. The IPX4 rating of the Beats provides only an average protection against sweat and splashes, which is underwhelming to say the least. Especially when compared to the shock-resistant design of the Momentum Sport, which got an IP55 rating, giving us protection against not only dust and sweat, but also low-pressure water jets, such as running tap water. And that makes the Sennheiser easier to keep clean after a hard and sweaty workout. On top of that, the battery case of the Sennheiser is IP54 rated with a sealed USB Type-C port at the back, so from a longevity and ingress protection point of view, it's an easy win for Sennheiser. And before we further discuss the battery cases, just a quick mention about the long-term comfort of the buds. Well, neither of the two are the most comfy in the long run, so I would call it a tie. It doesn't mean that these two cannot do a great job with 1 or 2 hour-long workouts, but all they use is clearly not what these guys were designed for. Now onto the battery cases. Both are chunkier than your average case, but out of the two, the Sennheiser is the more compact. However, it doesn't quite make it more pocket-friendly, because it has a soft but sticky silicone coating along the top and the bottom, so just slipping it in and out of a pocket is not as easy as doing the same with the plain hard plastic case of the Beats. That said, the same silicone gives you a much more secure grip on the case when you hold it in your hands. And that thick silicone band actually connects the lid to the bottom of the case, and as such, it replaces a more traditional hinge. When I originally tested the Momentum Sport back in August 2024, I was a bit afraid that this flapping design was not going to be durable enough, but time has proven me wrong, as the Sennheiser case is still working perfectly without any sign of wear and tear on that silicone band. The hard plastic parts are full of scratch marks, but that's to be expected after being carried around in my gym bag all the time, and the Beats case is 100% hard plastic too, so in the long run, collecting scratch marks is inevitable there as well. And while most of you will probably prefer that solid and springy hinge on the Beats with no flapping action, I will still give the win to the Sennheiser case overall, because it's more compact, it's splash-proof, the USB port is protected from dust buildup over time, and it also comes with a lanyard in the box. But while the two cases widely differ in their overall design approach, there are 2 traits they share in common. First, there is the compatibility with wireless charging, which to be honest is expected from top-of-the-shelf products like these. Second, we get quick charging with both cases. 10 minutes gives you enough juice for an extra hour of playtime with the Momentum Sport, while a 5-minute top-off will give you an extra 1.5 hours of use with the Beats. As for their overall battery life, you can get up to 36 hours with the Beats and 24 with the Sennheiser. The single charge playtime of the Powerbeats Pro 2 is 8 hours, while it's about 6 hours of the Momentum Sport. Now, these are the numbers with the ANC turned on. But since you cannot completely turn off the noise cancelling on the Sennheiser buds, it's only the Beats that can extend the battery life of the buds to about 10 hours with the ANC turned off. And that can be a great advantage for those who want all day long playtimes. Overall, in terms of battery life and charging, the Beats takes the win. And now let me test the built-in microphones on the two earbuds so you can have a better idea of the difference between the two when it comes to making phone calls. So this is an audio sample from the built-in mics on the Sennheiser Momentum Sport in a quiet environment. And this is the phone call quality you can expect from the built-in microphones on the Beats Powerbeats Pro 2 in a quiet environment. And now let's step outside for a second to put the earbuds to the test with some wind noise and traffic noise in the background. So this is the phone call quality you can expect from the built-in mics on the Sennheiser Momentum Sport in these conditions. And switching over to the built-in mics on the Powerbeats Pro 2, this is the audio quality you can get while you are outside, with some wind and traffic noise thrown into the mix. As for their controls, the one thing they have in common is the smart sensors for automatic play and pause, but other than that, the two could hardly be more different. The Beats come with good old tactile plastic buttons, while Sennheiser gave us touch controls. Well, maybe a bit more than that, because you don't even have to touch the buds themselves, it's enough to double or triple tap the cheekbones in front of your ears, and the sensors on board will register those taps too. You can also adjust the sensitivity of said sensors in the Sennheiser Smart Control app. There is no single tap option, and the touch and hold action which controls volume will only work on the touch panels on the earbuds, but we still get some remapping options for the double and the triple tap. And we get all the media controls we might need, including play, pause, volume and tracks, and also ambient mode controls. On the Beats we get all that too, but with very limited custom settings. We can find a separate volume rocker at the top of each earbud and a multifunctional button at the back. And while the former work pretty well for the most part, I got issues with the latter. These buttons at the back of each earbud control media playback, but every time I use them I have to push the buds a bit further inside my ear canal, which can cause some discomfort. Plus, when wearing a headband, a hat or gloves, these buttons do not give much of a feedback, if anything at all. And even though I'm not the biggest fan of touch controls on sports earbuds in general, as they are not as reliable when wet or dirty, the bone tapping option on the Momentum Sport is simply brilliant, and it works across all scenarios with a high enough level of accuracy. So while the volume controls might be better on the Beats thanks to the dedicated buttons, overall I enjoy using the Sennheiser controls more, so this one goes to the Momentum Sport. Onto the wireless features, again, there are some fundamental differences to be found. The Beats uses the Apple H2 chip, which is the same as the one inside the AirPods Pro 2. And as such, it delivers many, even if not all the same features as its older cousin. There is instant pairing with other Apple devices, automatic switching between your Mac, iPhone or iPad, audio sharing with other compatible Beats or Apple earbuds and headphones, and personalized spatial audio with head tracking. Find My works as well, but it's not precision finding, only a more basic one. Still, you can have a map and also ping the buds, so that should cover most emergencies. On Android, none of this will work except for the Locate My Beats feature, which shows the location of your buds on a map, but you cannot ping them. So on Android, you will lose out on a lot of features, such as multi-device connection or spatial audio with head tracking. Thanks to its Apple hardware, all the settings are integrated into iOS, iPadOS and macOS, so we get no separate apps on those platforms. However, there is a dedicated Android app, but only with a limited set of functions, including custom controls, the heart rate monitor on-off switch, an in-ear detection switch, an ear tip fit test, and firmware upgrades. The only available codec on the Beats is AAC, while the Momentum Sport gives us AAC and aptX Adaptive. And with the exception of the aptX codec, which is not available on iOS at all, the Sennheiser earbuds work exactly the same way regardless of what phone you use. We get the same app for both iOS and Android with the same set of features. Multipoint works well across all platforms, which as an Android and Apple user, I personally find a huge advantage during everyday use. Plus there is the connection management menu in the app where you can easily switch between all your available sources manually, which again can improve productivity in a mixed platform environment. Similarly to Beats, there is a tip fit test, an in-ear detection switch called Smart Pause, and Find Headphones is also available, with both a map and the option to ping your earbuds. And in the Smart Control app you can find a host of other features and settings too. Sound Zones gives you some location-based automations as it allows you to create presets for your EQ and noise control settings, which would activate whenever you enter or leave a zone. Sound Check helps you creating sound profiles based on your personal preferences, as it runs a few A/B comparison tests, and the best thing is that you can use whatever song you want for these tests, so you can tell which sound signature you like the most. And you can create multiple profiles for multiple scenarios or genres if you want. It's one of the best EQ solutions on the market, and it works better than the adaptive EQ on the Beats. And by adaptive EQ, Apple means that they know it better than you, so they don't give you options for tweaking the sound manually. But back to Sennheiser and their app, we also get an auto power off timer, firmware upgrades, a battery saving mode which deactivates the sport sensors and the aptX codec. There are some more codec settings on Android, and we can customize the layout of the app by adding or removing different features from the main page. And of course, there are the heart rate sensor and the ANC related settings, but more about those in a second. So while Apple users will enjoy the benefits of using the Beats within their fine-tuned ecosystem, overall the Momentum Sport offers loads of customization, different connection options and other settings across all platforms, so the app and features go to Sennheiser. But now let's discuss two of the most important features separately, the sport sensors and the active noise cancelling. Starting with the ANC, I find it a touch stronger on the Momentum Sport, especially with noises such as traffic, but also in the gym where it can isolate me a bit more, so I enjoy using it indoors a lot. But the transparency mode, which you would probably use more outside or on the road, it's much more usable on the Beats, thanks to its more natural sound and the better handling of wind noise. Transparency is more harsh and more intense on the Momentum Sport when turned up all the way, plus there is loads of wind noise as well. And that becomes very annoying very quickly when cycling, for example. There is a slider in the app where you can pull the transparency level down to low, and doing so improves the wind noise performance a lot, but it also makes everything sound muffled, which again is nowhere near as natural as that clean sound you get with the Beats. Sennheiser has a dedicated anti-wind mode as well, which lets in more noise than the ANC mode, but wind noise is indeed less annoying, thanks to the lower amount of that whistling sound, but it's still not quite as good as that clean sound we get with the Beats across all the modes. And keep in mind that the ANC cannot be completely turned off on the Sennheiser, but it's there as an option on the Beats. So while indoors I slightly prefer the Momentum Sport, outdoors the Beats is the winner by a huge margin, and this combination tips the scales in favor of the Powerbeats Pro 2 overall. And onto the other key feature of the two sports earbuds, let's see their optical heart rate sensors. The Sennheiser comes with a single sensor in the left earbud, while the Beats have one on each side. And you might think that this is an advantage, but I find having the sensors on one side only to be a benefit, as I can easily remove the right bud during exercise for whatever reason without losing my heart rate data. As for their accuracy, I would call it a tie, as both can give me precise data on the turbo trainer or when doing yoga, for example, but when running or doing something intense in the gym, both can be a hit and miss. Overall, both can be good enough for casual users to track their training load, but for a more accurate data, you will have to wear a smartwatch or even better, a chest heart rate monitor. As for the overall usability of the heart rate sensors, I found it impossible to connect the Beats to my Garmin bike computer or to any third-party apps such as Strava or Training Peaks Virtual on iOS, while it worked easily with the same apps on Android. And these limitations of the Beats make those buds unusable for me during many of my workouts. The Sennheiser, on the other hand, was able to broadcast its heart rate data to all of the above, including bike computers or any apps on both iOS and Android. Plus, I was able to connect the earbuds to two devices at the same time, so while displaying my heart rate data on my iPad running Training Peaks Virtual, I could listen to music on my Android phone. So for my use case, the Momentum Sport is a much better fit, and overall I believe that the Sennheiser Buds can be a better and more flexible option for hardcore fitness enthusiasts. Oh, and if it wasn't enough for the win, the Momentum Sport does not only come with an optical heart rate sensor, but there is also a body temperature sensor on board. And that can be a handy tool to have, especially when you get sick on a holiday with no thermometer at hand, so at least you can check whether you get a fever or not using your earbuds. And that's not just a theoretical use case, as the very thing happened to me in Lanzarote just a couple of months ago. So Sennheiser wins this round easily. And with that, there is nothing else left but to compare their sound quality. And what do you need the most when listening to your sports earbuds during exercise? Bass. Or to be more exact, the extra energy that you can get from a deep thumping bass. And the good news is that you get that with both earbuds. And while there is not that much of a difference between the two, there are certain distinguishable traits. The Momentum Sport can go a tiny bit deeper, and it gives you more of that rumbling, warm and heavy bottom octave. The Beats, on the other hand, feels a bit less extended, but more snappy, controlled and agile, with a rather hefty punch in the mid-bass. Moving up in the frequency range, the mids feel a touch darker on the Sennheiser, with more recessed and less articulated vocals and instruments, while the Powerbeats Pro 2 can deliver more clarity and more presence across the mid-range. This brings better voice intelligibility with it, so if you are a podcast listener when running, the Beats will probably serve you better. As for the highs, we get more sparkle and extension up top from the Beats, which makes the overall sound quite a bit brighter than the Sennheiser, where the upper octaves are rolled off ever so slightly. So on one hand, the Beats sounds more exciting, but it can also sound a bit too fatiguing in the long run, while the Momentum Sport stays comfortable to listen to even after using it for an hour or two. The Beats can also go a little bit higher in terms of maximum volume, but I would never use them anywhere near to 100% because the buds are crazy loud, and at that point the bright highs can get a bit too hot for my ears. At normal output levels, however, I would say that the Beats sound marginally better, but mostly thanks to its more open mids. It's not to everyone's liking though, and I can see the charm in the warm and punchy sound of the Momentum Sport as well. But I did all these tests with the default tuning on an iPad with the AAC codec, which can be an unfair advantage for the Beats. But on Android, there is the aptX adaptive codec along with a high resolution option and the soundcheck feature with loads of fine-tuning options, and all these combined can make the Momentum Sport truly sing. You can add top-end extension, pull up the mids or tame the bass a little if that's what you want. And the good thing is that you can keep switching between different sound signatures for different genres or use case scenarios. And this kind of a flexibility gives a slight edge to the Sennheiser Buds overall when it comes to sound quality. And this takes us to our conclusion. If I look at all the categories here, the picture is kind of clear. Beats won the fit, the battery life and the ANC rounds, while Sennheiser came out on top in terms of longevity, their battery case, controls, wireless features, heart rate sensors and sound quality. So it's 6 points to the Momentum Sport versus 3 to the Powerbeats Pro 2. Okay, it's 4 if we count the phone call quality as well, and to be fair, the Beats did a noticeably better job at that. But there is still another element we have not discussed yet, and that's their price. The Beats cost $250 or pounds and 300 euros, but the Sennheisers come in at $200 or pounds and 230 euros, which, as of filming this video in April 2025, makes them the absolute winners of this test. That is, unless you are an Apple user who also happens to be a cyclist, because in that particular use case I would recommend the Beats. But I'm gonna stop there. That's it for today. Whether you agree with my conclusions or not, your comments are welcome, as I really want to hear your thoughts on these two earbuds as well. If you liked the video, then please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you don't want to miss out on any of my upcoming content. Thanks for watching everyone, hope to see you all in the next one.